Okay, quick question. Have you ever wanted to go somewhere so badly that the government, the military, and Mother Nature all teamed up just to say, nope, not you, buddy? Yeah. Welcome to the list of the most forbidden places on Earth. These aren't your average keep out spots like your ex's Instagram or your neighbor's Wi Fi. Nope. These are actual locations where if you show up, you'll either be shot at with arrows, swallowed by snakes, or possibly abducted by aliens. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Maybe a little, but you'll see. Imagine trying to plan a trip. Paris? Eh. Bali? Eh. Oh, what about that island full of people who've been sharpening spears for 60,000 years and absolutely hate visitors? Yeah, that's the vibe. Today we're taking a journey to places you can't visit, shouldn't visit, and honestly wouldn't survive visiting even if you tried. So buckle up because after this video, you'll never complain about airport security again. Number 1. North Sentinel Island, the world's worst vacation spot. Imagine you're stranded at sea. You're tired, sunburnt, clinging to a piece of wood like you're auditioning for the sequel to Titanic. Finally, land. You crawl onto the beach, coughing up salt water, expecting maybe a beach bar with coconut drinks. But nope. Instead, you look up and see half-naked people with bows and arrows sprinting towards you like they just spotted the world's biggest intruder alarm. Congratulations! You've just arrived on North Sentinel Island, aka Earth's most aggressive no trespassing sign. This tiny island sits in the Bay of Bengal looking innocent and tropical from a distance. Palm trees, blue water, sandy beaches, basically brochure material. But the catch? It's home to the Sentinelese, an indigenous tribe that's been living there for about 60,000 years, and they're not looking for new friends. Seriously, these people skipped the entire history of colonization, the Industrial Revolution, Wi-Fi, TikTok, basically everything. They just stayed put, living life the old school way, hunting, fishing, and making it crystal clear that outsiders are not welcome. And when I say crystal clear, I mean they'll fire arrows at helicopters. Helicopters! Imagine living so hardcore that you see a giant flying machine in the sky and think, yeah, I can take that down with this stick. Now here's the wild part. The Indian government actually enforces a law that says nobody is allowed to go within 5 nautical miles of the island. Why? Because the Sentinelese don't just not want you there, they'll actually kill you if you show up. And the government's response is, basically, yeah, fair enough, their island, their rules. So technically, if the Sentinelese yeet you with a spear, it's not even considered a crime. Imagine that in court. Your Honor, the defendant shot arrows at me. Okay, but were you on their beach? Yes. Case dismissed. Next. In 2006, 2 fishermen accidentally drifted too close to the island. Big mistake. The tribe killed them instantly and buried them right there on the beach. And in 2018, an American missionary named John Chow thought it'd be a great idea to row up and try to preach Christianity. Let's just say his mission was permanently unsuccessful. But before you think, wow, these people are savages, here's the twist. The ban isn't just to protect you, it's actually to protect them. Because the Sentinelese have been isolated for so long, they have zero immunity to our modern germs. If you went there with a runny nose, you could accidentally wipe out their entire population faster than a Marvel villain snapping his fingers. So yeah, staying away is the right move for both sides. So let's recap. North Sentinel Island looks like paradise, but is actually a tropical nightmare. You won't find resorts, Wi-Fi, or even friendly locals. Just arrows, hostility, and the constant reminder that maybe some parts of Earth really are better left unexplored. Moral of the story? If you want an island getaway, stick to Hawaii. If you want to star in the world's shortest survival story, well, North Sentinel is waiting. Number 2. The Emperor's Tomb, world's deadliest do not disturb sign. Okay, so imagine you're just a farmer in 1974, digging a well because, water's kind of important. You're expecting dirt, rocks, maybe a worm or two. Instead, your shuttle hits something hard. You brush it off, and boom, you've uncovered what turns out to be the greatest accidental oops in archaeology history: the Terracotta Army. Yep, one hole in the ground, and suddenly you stumbled into an entire underground city guarded by thousands of clay soldiers. Not one, not 10, not even 100. Over 8,000 life-sized warriors lined up, staring at you like, yeah, buddy, put that shovel down before this gets awkward. Welcome to the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor who clearly had separation issues. This guy thought, if I can't take my army with me when I die, I'll just build one out of clay. Classic overachiever move. Now, here's the kicker. The outer tomb and soldiers have been excavated, but the actual emperor's tomb, the big prize in the middle, has never been opened. Not once. It's still sealed, untouched, and completely off limits. Why? Because ancient booby traps and literal rivers of mercury are supposedly waiting inside. And when I say booby traps, I'm not talking Indiana Jones rolling boulder fun. We're talking crossbows rigged to fire automatically if you open the wrong door. That's right, Qin Shi Huang designed the world's first home security system, except instead of an annoying alarm, you just die instantly. Oh, and the mercury thing? Not a myth. Scientists actually tested the soil around the tomb and found mercury levels 100 times higher than normal. Which means two things. The emperor really believed drinking mercury made him immortal. Spoiler, it didn't. It just made him crazy. And if you walk in there today, you'd basically be inhaling the world's deadliest vape cloud. So yeah, archaeologists have all agreed to just leave it alone. It's been sitting there since 210 BC, and honestly, opening it now could destroy the priceless artifacts inside. Imagine waiting 2,000 years just to ruin everything with one clumsy move. Oops, sorry guys, I sneezed and knocked over the ancient jewel-encrusted ceiling. Not worth the risk. And here's the wildest part. China officially declared this place a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Translation, you are never ever getting inside. No tourists, no selfies, no TikTok dances on top of the tomb. Just a big fat nope stamped over the whole thing. So, to sum it up, this tomb is basically the emperor's eternal do not disturb sign. It's got thousands of clay soldiers, deadly booby traps, and rivers of poison. And even after 2,200 years, nobody's brave or dumb enough to open the main chamber. Honestly, probably for the best. Because if anyone ever cracks that tomb, I guarantee you 2020 will suddenly look like the good old days. Number 3. The Seed Vault, IKEA's evil twin. Far up in the frozen Arctic, where the sun barely shows its face and the landscape looks like the inside of a giant freezer, there's a mysterious building sticking out of the side of a mountain. At first glance, you might think it's a Bond villain's lair, or maybe the entrance to some top-secret alien base. But no, this sharp wedge of concrete, glowing faintly in the snow, is actually one of the most important and most forbidden places on Earth. It's called the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, and it's basically Earth's giant external hard drive. Inside this vault are more than 1.2 million samples of seeds from crops all around the world. Wheat, rice, corn, beans, potatoes. If it grows in soil, chances are it's sitting in a little frozen packet inside that mountain. The idea is simple. If disaster ever wipes out our food supply, these seeds are waiting to reboot civilization. It's like pressing restore factory settings, but for agriculture. The concept was born from a pretty terrifying thought. What happens if a country loses its crops? Wars, natural disasters, climate change. There are 100 different ways agriculture could collapse. In fact, it's already happened. Seed banks in war-torn regions have been destroyed, wiping out precious genetic diversity. Without backups, entire crops could disappear forever. So, the solution? Build a vault in one of the most remote, inhospitable places on the planet where nothing and no one can get to it. The design itself is straight out of science fiction. A tunnel, more than 400 feet deep, carved into solid rock and permafrost. Inside, the temperature is kept at minus 18 degrees Celsius. That's about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Colder than most people's sense of humor. The cold is essential because seeds last longer when frozen. Even if the power fails, the natural permafrost acts like a backup refrigerator, keeping everything safe. In other words, the people who built this place thought of everything. If humanity collapses tomorrow, the seeds will still be waiting in their icy bunk beds. Now you might be wondering, why make it look so dramatic? Why not just stick the seeds in a boring warehouse? Well, partly because the Arctic is naturally cold and stable, but also because, let's face it, the vault looks incredible. At night, blue lights illuminate the entrance, glowing like a beacon through the snowstorm. It looks less like a seed vault and more like the opening level of a video game called Apocalypse Survival. If IKEA ever went full doomsday mode, this is what their showroom would look like. But here's the kicker. You're not allowed inside. Not me, not you, not anyone, except a handful of approved scientists. And even they don't linger. This place isn't a tourist attraction. There's no guided tours, no gift shop, no postcards. Just locked steel doors and rows upon rows of sealed seed packages that no one will touch unless civilization collapses. Which makes it possibly the most boring heist target in the history of crime. Imagine trying to break in. You're sneaking through the Arctic night, freezing, dragging heavy gear through the snow, finally breaching the vault, and all you get is a bag of lentils. Imagine explaining that in prison. What are you in for? I stole beans. Not exactly legendary outlaw status. The thing is, this vault isn't just a cool idea. It's absolutely vital. Around the world, crop diversity is shrinking. We're relying on fewer and fewer strains of food, which makes us vulnerable. If one disease wipes out a certain type of wheat, and that's the only wheat we've got, goodbye bread. That's why the vault matters. It's humanity's insurance policy against starvation. No matter what happens out here, the seeds are safe in there. And yet the place naturally attracts conspiracy theories. Some people are convinced the vault is hiding more than seeds. They think it contains DNA samples, secret government experiments, maybe even evidence of aliens. After all, who builds a glowing concrete triangle in the middle of the Arctic just for plants? But the truth is far less exciting. It really is just seeds, millions and millions of seeds sitting silently in the dark, waiting for a future where they might be needed. Still, it's hard not to imagine the vault as the ultimate reset button. If the world falls apart, this is where we'll come crawling back. Humanity will return, open the vault, and restart civilization with the basics. Rice, wheat, beans, maybe even kale. Yes, kale. Because apparently someone thought the apocalypse should still be miserable. And that's the irony of the Seed Vault. It's one of the most important places in the world, but you can't visit it. You can't touch it, and most of the time you'll forget it even exists. It just sits there quietly, humming in the Arctic cold, while the rest of us carry on. But if disaster strikes, if crops fail, if famine spreads, this vault could be the reason humanity survives. So, next time you're eating dinner, whether it's pizza, pasta, or just plain rice, remember, there's a copy of your meal's ingredients frozen in the middle of a Norwegian mountain, waiting, watching, and making sure that even if we screw everything up, the world will still have potatoes. And honestly, that's kind of comforting. Number 4. The Lascaux Caves, the world's first art museum you can't visit. France, the land of croissants, baguettes, and people who somehow look stylish even while buying groceries. It's also home to one of the most fascinating, mysterious, and completely off-limits places on Earth, the Lascaux Caves. Now, before you picture some random hole in the ground with a few dusty rocks, let me set the scene. Imagine stumbling upon an underground gallery filled with hundreds of paintings, horses, bulls, stags, bison. Paintings so detailed, so beautiful, that even today, 20,000 years later, they're considered masterpieces. This isn't just art, it's prehistoric Instagram, except instead of posting photos of brunch, our ancestors were showing off the animals they hunted. The Lascaux Caves are basically the Louvre of the Stone Age. Except here's the catch. Unlike the Louvre, you can't visit. You can't buy a ticket. You can't sneak in. The caves are locked up tighter than your neighbor's Wi-Fi. They're forbidden to the public forever. The accidental discovery. The story of how the caves were found feels like the beginning of a kid's adventure movie. The year was 1940. A group of teenagers in southwestern France were wandering around with their dog. The dog chased something down a hole, and in trying to rescue it, the boys stumbled upon a deep shaft that led underground. They went back with ropes and lanterns, climbed inside, and what they found was jaw-dropping. A massive underground network stretching hundreds of feet with walls covered in paintings. Horses galloping, bulls charging, stags leaping, entire herds frozen in motion. And not stick figure scribbles either. These were vibrant, detailed images with shading, perspective, even the illusion of movement. These cave people weren't doodling. They were basically inventing animation. Imagine being those teenagers. You're expecting maybe a bat, maybe some mud. Instead, you've just discovered the most important prehistoric art collection on the planet. Forget detention. Those kids earned lifetime bragging rights. The Stone Age art scene. Let's talk about the paintings themselves. Experts estimate the art was created between 17,000 and 22,000 years ago by the people of the Upper Paleolithic era. These artists didn't have brushes, easels, or fancy paint sets. They used natural pigments, charcoal, ochre, and iron oxide, mixed with animal fat or water. For brushes, sometimes sticks, sometimes moss, and sometimes just blowing pigment through hollow bones like primitive airbrushes. The result? Over 600 paintings and nearly 1,500 engravings covering the walls and ceilings of the cave. Horses make up over 60% of the images, but there are also bulls, deer, cats, and even a mysterious unicorn figure. Apparently, even in prehistoric times, people were drawing things that didn't exist. The scale is impressive too. Some paintings stretch over 15 feet long. And the caves aren't just a single gallery. They're divided into rooms, each with its own style. The Hall of the Bulls is the most famous, featuring giant aurochs, extinct wild cattle, painted side by side. Then there's the Shaft of the Dead Man, where a human figure is depicted lying on the ground with a bison towering over him. A rare scene, since humans almost never appear in Paleolithic art. Here's the mind-blowing part. Scientists believe the artists painted in complete darkness, using stone lamps fueled by animal fat. Imagine crawling into a cold, pitch-black cave with nothing but a flickering flame, then casually producing world-class art. Meanwhile, most of us can't even draw a decent stick figure with the lights on. Why paint? The big question. Why did they do it? What drove our ancestors to decorate caves with such detail? Theories abound. Some say it was religious, part of rituals to bring luck in hunting. Others think it was storytelling, or even the world's first classroom. Maybe a caveman dad was teaching his kids, "This is a horse. Don't try to eat it. It runs faster than you." Another theory is that the caves were like prehistoric IMAX theaters. Picture groups of hunters gathering in the flickering firelight, watching the walls come alive with animals in motion.
It must have been awe-inspiring, maybe even magical. For people who had no written language, this was their way of communicating, recording, and maybe even dreaming. A human and a bison, the painting in the shaft of the dead man. The public rushes in. Fast forward to modern times. After the discovery in 1940, the caves became a sensation. By 1948, they were open to the public, and tourists poured in by the thousands every day. People marveled at the art, snapping photos, breathing heavily in the damp air. And that's when the problems began. It turns out humans are bad for caves. The carbon dioxide from our breath, the humidity from our bodies, even the heat from the lights, it all started damaging the paintings. Mold grew, colors faded, crystals formed on the walls. By the early 1960s, scientists realized that if they didn't act, the art would vanish completely. So, in 1963, the caves were closed to the public. Forever. Only a handful of scientists are allowed inside each year, wearing protective suits, carefully monitoring the air. For the rest of us, the original Lascaux caves are completely off limits, a treasure we can never see. Replicas for the rest of us. But don't worry, France, being France, had a stylish solution. If people couldn't visit the real caves, why not make replicas? In the 1980s, they built Lascaux II, a painstaking, accurate reproduction of the main chambers, just a few hundred meters from the original. Later, they went even further, creating traveling exhibits like Lascaux III and a high-tech immersive experience, Lascaux IV. These replicas are so detailed that most people can't tell the difference. You can walk through the halls, admire the animals, and feel the awe without actually destroying the originals. It's like visiting Disney World instead of the real Paris. Sure, it's fake, but it still gets the point across. The forbidden allure. Of course, the fact that the real caves are forbidden only makes them more fascinating. People love the idea of secrets. Knowing there's a treasure locked away underground, one that only a handful of experts can see, makes it irresistible. The Lascaux caves have become almost mythical, part history, part mystery, part untouchable dream. And that's what makes them perfect for this list. They're not guarded by soldiers or hidden behind booby traps or filled with mercury like the Chinese emperor's tomb. Their enemy is simply time. The art has survived for 20,000 years, and the only way to keep it alive is to keep us out. The French twist. Let's be honest, there's something very French about this whole situation. Only in France would people say, "We discovered the oldest, most precious paintings in human history. Quick, let's open a museum where no one is allowed." It's the cultural equivalent of buying the world's finest wine and then refusing to uncork it. But in a way, that's what makes it poetic. The paintings weren't meant for us. They weren't made for tourists or scholars or even future generations. They were made for the people of the Stone Age. By closing the caves, we're honoring that. We're letting the art stay in its original silence, untouched, the way it's been for thousands of years. Wrapping it up. So here's the summary. The Lascaux Caves in France hold some of the oldest, most beautiful art in the world, painted up to 20,000 years ago. They were discovered by accident in 1940, became a tourist sensation, and then started falling apart thanks to, surprise, humans being humans. Since 1963, they've been completely closed to the public, forever. Replicas exist, but the real treasure is sealed away, protected from our curiosity. The Lascaux Caves remind us that not everything is meant to be touched, photographed, or turned into a TikTok. Some things are meant to stay hidden, ancient, and mysterious. And maybe that's the magic of it. Because the truth is, the forbidden always feels more powerful. Knowing the real caves are locked away makes every replica, every photograph, every story just a little bit more tantalizing. And in the end, maybe that's the point. Some secrets are too valuable to be shared. So, if you ever find yourself in France, sure, enjoy the croissants, visit the Eiffel Tower, sip wine on the Seine, but remember, deep underground, hidden from view, lies humanity's first masterpiece, a museum no one will ever visit again. The world's greatest art exhibit, permanently off limits. Number 5. Snake Island. Welcome to Nope Island. Ah, Brazil. Land of carnival, soccer, and beaches that make you want to quit your job and move there forever. But just off its coast sits a place so terrifying, so ridiculously dangerous, that even the Brazilian Navy says, yeah, don't go there. It's called Ilha de Queimada Grande, but most people just call it Snake Island, and the nickname tells you everything you need to know. This place is basically the world's biggest nope button, an island absolutely crawling with snakes. And not just harmless garden snakes slithering around your backyard. No, this island is home to thousands upon thousands of golden lancehead pit vipers, one of the most venomous snakes on Earth. Their venom is so powerful it can melt human flesh. Yes, you heard that right, melt, as in Indiana Jones' face at the end of the movie, Melt. A tropical paradise from hell. At first glance, the island looks gorgeous. Blue waters, green forests, a perfect little slice of paradise. You'd think it was the ideal spot for a beach resort. Then you take one step on shore and realize the sand is basically a living snake carpet. The estimate? Around one snake for every square meter. That means wherever you stand, there's probably one watching you, and probably another one right above you in the trees. That's right, these snakes don't just slither on the ground, they climb trees. So not only is the ground trying to kill you, but the sky is too. It's like living inside a video game where the hard mode is just permanent. So how did this island become the reptile version of a horror movie? Millions of years ago, during the last ice age, sea levels rose and cut the island off from mainland Brazil. The snakes were trapped there with no predators to keep their numbers in check. Over time, their population exploded and they evolved to adapt. The golden lanceheads got deadlier too. Their venom became 5 times stronger than their mainland cousins. Why? Because on the island, their main food source is birds. Birds move fast, so the snakes had to develop venom that kills almost instantly before dinner has a chance to fly away. Great for the snakes, terrible for literally everyone else. Humans not welcome. Understandably, the Brazilian government has banned anyone from setting foot on Snake Island. The only exceptions are scientists with special permission, and even they have to wear protective gear and take emergency medical teams with them. One wrong step, one unlucky encounter, and it's game over. The Navy patrols the waters around the island, making sure no curious tourist or wannabe adventurer decides to test their luck. Because believe it or not, some people are crazy enough to try. They hear the words Forbidden Island and suddenly think it sounds like the world's coolest vacation spot. Spoiler, it's not. It's a vacation where your sunscreen is snake venom and your hotel bed is a pile of reptiles. Legends of Snake Island. Of course, with a place this deadly, legends are bound to spring up. Locals whisper stories about fishermen who drifted too close, stepped ashore, and never came back. Their bodies, when found, were covered in snake bites, as if the entire island decided to throw a welcome party in their honor. There are even stories of treasure hunters who believed pirates buried gold on the island. They went searching, hoping for riches, but all they found were snakes. Lots and lots of snakes. It's like the island itself is saying, "You want treasure? Surprise! It's venom!" One tale even claims that a lighthouse keeper once lived there, with his family. One night, snakes slithered in through the windows. The family tried to flee, but the snakes were everywhere, on the floor, in the trees, in the path. None of them made it out alive.
Whether that story's true or not doesn't really matter, because the point is clear. People and Snake Island do not mix. The venom. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how nasty these golden lancehead vipers are. Their venom doesn't just hurt, it literally destroys flesh and tissue. It breaks down proteins and causes internal bleeding so severe that death can occur in under an hour. And here's the kicker. There's no hospital on Snake Island. The nearest one is hours away on the mainland, so even if you did get bitten, your chances of survival are basically zero. Scientists do study the venom, though, because it's so unique. In controlled doses, it's being researched for potential medical uses, like treating heart conditions or even cancer. So in a strange twist, the very thing that makes these snakes so terrifying might also save lives one day. Just not yours if you're dumb enough to step on the island. The tourist pitch no one wants. Imagine the world's worst travel brochure. Crystal blue waters, lush tropical forests, endless sunshine, and, oh yeah, hundreds of thousands of snakes waiting to bite you. No beach chairs, no cocktails, just venom and terror. And yet, people still fantasize about sneaking in. Some YouTubers have even floated the idea of exploring it for views. Honestly, if anyone deserves to get bitten, it's probably them. Why we can't look away. So why is Snake Island so fascinating? Because it's the perfect example of nature saying, "This place is mine, stay away." It's pure wilderness, untouched by humans because humans literally can't survive there. In a world where we've built cities on mountains, tunnels under oceans, and tourist traps in the desert, Snake Island is one of the few places left that's completely off limits. It's a reminder that no matter how much we think we've conquered nature, there are still corners of the earth where we simply don't belong. And Snake Island makes sure we never forget it. So let's summarize. Snake Island, just off the coast of Brazil, is home to thousands of golden lancehead pit vipers, snakes so venomous they can melt human flesh. The population is massive, with some estimates saying one snake for every square meter. The Brazilian government has completely forbidden anyone from setting foot on the island, except a few scientists. Legends tell of unlucky visitors who never made it back, their lives claimed by swarms of snakes. And while the venom is deadly, it's also being studied for potential medical breakthroughs. So, in the end, Snake Island is both horrifying and fascinating. A beautiful tropical paradise that hides a nightmare beneath its trees. A place that proves not all forbidden destinations need walls, guards, or booby traps. Sometimes the land itself enforces the rule. Stay away. So, if you ever find yourself daydreaming about a trip to Brazil, stick to the beaches, the festivals, the samba, and the football. Leave Snake Island to the snakes. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later, because if paradise comes with a side of venom that melts your skin, it's really not paradise.
Thanks for watching Cool Dude Explains, where comedy meets curiosity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your favorite myth or question in the comments. Stay curious, stay cool, and I'll see you in the next video.